Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly Catalyst meditation. This one is a little disjointed because I got into the Catalyst meditation and the pre-talk of the Catalyst meditation and realized I hadn't hit the record button. So I'm going back now to add the parts that I didn't do last week. And the part that I covered early on in our Catalyst meditation in the pre-talk of the Catalyst meditation. It has to do with a recap of what we're doing and how we're doing it right now. Last week we talked about the problem. What is the problem? The largest problem that we have to deal with, which is our civilizational change. Um, what's the reasoning behind both the civilizational change and where we're going as a new civilization? And what we're talking about today is going to be our worldview. How do we see the world? In our upcoming sessions, we'll be going into our vision for a new society, our vision for a world that works for all, our manifesto, or perhaps easier to say, our declaration around what we are establishing now. I want to talk up to you about Alice. And what I mean by Alice is our new systems and our new institutions for our political expression, for our economic expression, how we actually act in the world. Um, we might get into some of the physics behind this, some of the physics of consciousness. And we're going to wind up with a call to action. How we are going to, how I and everyone else is going to be inviting you to a new way of thinking about the world and a new way of acting in the world. So today is our day to look at the question of what is our worldview. My friend and my late friend and late leader and late collaborator, someone I'm still missing here, Joanna Macy, um, wrote a book that really focused us into our worldview. The people who, for example, are calling for the demonstrations against the present administration, they have a worldview, and the people who are uh, their work is anti this or anti that. They're anti-imperialist, they're anti-racist, they're anti-colonialist, they're anti, well, they have a worldview. Um, what Joanna Macy said in one of her books, and I'm going to put this up here again. So, what Joanna Macy said in one of her books that was entitled World as Lover, World as Self is she has four different ways in which she looked at how the world works. We can see all four of these ways in the world right now. Two of these ways get us to a place where we don't want to be. But that doesn't mean that we're that many of us, if not most of us, are supporting that point of view, either involuntarily or on purpose. And those 4 points, then there are two other points of view that get us to where we would like to be. And these 4 points of view, and this is Joanna's way of seeing the world. World is enemy, world is battlefield, world is lover, and world is self. And to go through these four worldviews really quickly, um, you can act in the world as though the world is your enemy. And many, many people do that. Many millions, tens of millions of people do that. The world is bad, it's corrupt, it's evil. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm zoning out here. And people do that either through uh, uh, I'm just going to meditate my way out of it. I don't want anything to do with the world, etc. Second way is world is battlefield. There's good in the world, and then there's evil in the world, and this good and this evil is going to fight things out. And if you don't fight hard enough, evil will win. It's possible in that worldview for evil to win. So we've got to work as hard as we possibly can so that evil won't win. Um, those are, as I said, those are alive and living ways of that look people look at the world. I tend to look at the world, and Joanna tends to look at the world in a different way. And that's that the world is your lover. From the time before you were born, the world has taken care of you, has nurtured you, has provided you with the oxygen that's in your lungs right now, has provided you with the food that you eat right now. Um, and all of the systems of the world conspire together to support you. And that's a way of looking at the world that I think that is valid. And then she takes it one step further and recognizes that the world is yourself, who you are, how you are, where you are. Um, when you are supporting the world with love, which that turns out to be is self-love. You are actually loving yourself. And these four ways of looking at the world are dancing in our world right now. And we have choices to make. And making those choices are things that we need to be um, cognizant of and be actively supporting the world that you actually want to live in. The Iranian position is based on not just on Islam. It's based on Shia Islam, which is a whole other category. Um, I would, if I were calling it anything, I would probably say fatalistic martyrdom. The Shias believe in martyrdom. It's like if they win a fight, they were supposed to. If they lose the fight, they were supposed to. They were like, let's like you go down in flames, you go down and take everybody with you. That's the way that they perceive the world. And um, it makes it really, really hard to negotiate anything with someone who believes in the inevitability of the conflict that they are in. They can stay in conflict for a long, long time because the Iran-Iraq war was between Iran and Iraq, and we weren't backing either one of them at the time. Um, that it lasted a long time. It was amazingly bloody, and the fact that it was amazingly bloody kept it going. Israel's point of view is God is on our side, and if there's somebody that's opposing us, that means by definition they are ungodly, and you have some duties to uh, remove the ungodly. The United States, as a country, uh, seems to have the belief that we can project power wherever we want, however we want, and there are no consequences to us. We could, if we don't like something, just drop some bombs on them, and they won't do anything to us. And when they turn around and do something to us, we're shocked. It's like this doesn't fit our worldview. And so this is a powder keg with three fuses on it, and everybody's running around with matches. And our ability to get past that and see another point of view, back to the Joanna Macy point of view, I think is just really, really important. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Catalyst meditation for our weekly Thursday meditation. Welcome to those who have joined us today. Welcome to those who are following on the outline. I guess I should remove my outline, my spotlight here. And welcome to those who have been with us in the past on the Catalyst meditation but can't join us today. I am going to start us the way we almost always start, and that is with our synchronized breathing to for our meditation. And so if we can breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, And if we can keep going for another minute or so in a silent centering. So if we can come back to our common center, we will continue with our intentions. As the imaginal cells within the chrysalis come together to form the butterfly out of the disintegrated caterpillar cells, we come together to form a gateway for the meta-consciousness of the mind of Gaia. We act for ourselves personally, and we act as aspects of Mother Earth. The universe is one, is alive, and is conscious. Holonic consciousness is a fundamental aspect of the universe. Every atom in the universe holds consciousness. It is always with us. We're acknowledging this now because many humans have forgotten and many humans have been in denial. We act to reawaken our connection to Mother Earth for the benefit of all living beings. And we acknowledge our connection to all beings. Our oneness includes all humans, including those who have gone before and those who are to come. We are one with all beings who thrive on and in the earth. We are one with all beings who thrive on and in the water. We are one with all beings who thrive on and in the air. We are one with all beings who thrive on and in our bodies. We are one with all beings that thrive on light, the beings of the plant realms. We are one with all meta beings, including the earth as a living meta being, water as a living meta being, fire as a living meta being, air as a living meta being. We are one with all colony beings, meta beings that are collections of solo beings, and that includes murmurations, colonies, schools, hives, pods, flocks, herds, migrations, harmonies, swarms, and other forms of colony beings. We especially acknowledge and honor those beings who are partnered and bound with us, including those beings we rely upon for food, for security, for assistance, and for love and companionship, and those beings who rely on us for the same. And we acknowledge all other forms of consciousness, known and unknown to us. Having acknowledged all beings, we blend all of our energies. May all who are part of Mother Earth be connected to and in perfect health, harmony, and balance with each other and with Gaia for the common good. We are in perfect physical health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect emotional health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect relational health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect mental health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect spiritual health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect holonic health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect spatial and temporal health, harmony, and balance. We are in the perfect place, at the perfect time, in the perfect conditions, and with the perfect beings. We set and we energize our declarations. We declare that the universe is one, is alive, and is conscious. We declare that holonic consciousness is a fundamental aspect of the universe. We declare that the earth and all earth beings are one. Together we form a meta-consciousness. We declare that all humans are one. One family, one species, one destiny. Separations are illusory. We awaken human consciousness from all illusions of separation. We declare that humans are colony beings. We deepen and expand our human murmurations, our human harmonies. We declare that Mother Earth is the ultimate governing principle, the way that humans govern their behavior on this planet, replacing all other forms of human governance. This is the way our behavior aligns with the will of the earth. We declare that Mother Earth is providing all necessary resources to achieve the vision of a world that works for all living beings. We declare that we are creating a political and economic system where all beings participate in it. All beings are in relationship with it. All beings own it. All beings benefit from it. And all beings govern it for the common good. So we'll now meditate within this holonic energy, within the energy of Mother Earth. We will be listening for messages that we may receive to bring back to others. We'll be making any personal requests that we may have. And we'll be deepening and expanding our human experience of our human murmurations, our human harmonies. We'll do this for the next 8 to 10 minutes, and we'll start now. And if we can come back to our common center, we will conclude with our inclusivity mantra. May I be well. May I be secure. May I be happy. May you be well. May you be secure. May you be happy. May we be well. May we be secure. May we be happy. And may all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. And so it is, and so it shall be. Thank you for attending today.
The Urantia book says there can't be peace on earth until there is one just world government, which agrees in some way, but probably with what we are trying to do, create a situation where all life on the planet is one, and that we all recognize something divine. And basically, it used the example, the United States, right? Because each state has surrendered all ideas of sovereignty to the US government, right? There's no fighting between Texas and Arkansas or
Yeah.
Oregon.
Yeah, not until they take it back.
Well, yeah, but the point is, as long as nations have this misguided idea of national sovereignty, there will always be war. We have to get rid of the idea of national sovereignty, and all nation states have to surrender their sovereignty in the same way that the 50 states did to the United States.
Um, I was just on the verge of agreeing with you, and I got to the last part of that sentence. So I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. And that plays out in a couple of different ways. I go further than that. I think that we should get rid of nations. The notion of I am different from you because I'm born on a different piece of dirt than you are, I think is old thinking. Um, I was in, see you. Um, I was in, when I first understood globalism, I was in Frankfurt, Germany, and I was in the market square, and I was about to eat a burrito that was made by a Middle Easterner um, in Germany. And it was one of the best burritos I ever had. And it's like, oh, this is how it works, you know. I mean, nobody. I was like, how can you? You're not a Mexican. You can't make me a burrito. And it's like, oh yes, I can. And so can we do this larger thing? Um, I think that this notion of sovereignty has to be rethought, and I have not done that, period, and I haven't done or I haven't done it yet. And I may have to do it as part of this whole conglomeration of stuff that I'm in the middle of doing. That my stack is whittling down. I'm actually getting more and more stuffed into the computer here. But I think there's a balancing act between sovereignty and supremacy. And I think that we human beings and we American style human beings have had that both on and off. The off parts being when we think that we're better than everybody else. That's where Max Planck's comment comes in that talks about, and I think that Einstein agreed with Planck, um, where he said that if you look at physics, you have to see the mechanizations, that's my word, of um, an infinite intelligence, and that intelligence lies at the heart and at the root of all things. And once you get there, then you can be humble. And Esther, I'm going to stop talking so that you can go ahead and talk.
Well, I got triggered when you said we need to get rid of nations. And
You said you are not, or you are?
I am triggered by that
Oh, okay.
because if you look at the hierarchy of government, we have counties, well, we have city governments, which is very local. And then we have counties, which basically organizes a bunch of cities. And then we have a state, which organizes a bunch of counties.
Mhm,
And then we have a nation, which organizes all these states.
mhm,
So, you know, one step up is a world government that organizes all the nations.
mhm,
So, really, there's no problem with nations. The problem is self righteousness.
mhm.
When someone thinks, oh, well, our way is the best way, and everybody has to be like us, then you run into problems. But just because there's a Germany and a Belgium, that's not the problem. It's the problem when Germany thinks they're better than Belgium, or Belgium thinks they're better than Germany.
I don't think this is a big deal. I think that if so, my way of seeing this is that this progression can keep going up to the point that we don't need government. We don't need government to tell us how to choose sides on a baseball team. We don't need, and I think there's some negative aspects to that. If you look at our current situation, but if you look at how we see the world, how we see how the world functions, we, the people of the United States, don't have any problems with them, the people of Iran. The governments have problems with each other, but the people, the people are just people. People get along. And I say that because I've been in situations, I've been in countries where we're supposed to be um, in major disagreement with each other. And I go to those countries and I have a ball. We're all friends. We can act as friends, etc. When we throw ideology in there, then all of a sudden I got to pull away from you and I got to act like I'm an enemy of yours. Okay. If what we could do is just get people to recognize their common humanity, then we will figure out the right things to do. When we get in a situation where government is putting its stamp on us, and I can think I'll give you half a dozen different countries right now. Haiti, which doesn't even have a functioning government, um, and I said half a dozen. I'll try to come up with a full handful. Um, oh, Myanmar, where the government is at war with its people, where the government is mowing down its own citizens in the streets. Um, North Korea, which doesn't allow its people to have a thought that's independent of the government. Um, I would have used um, South Africa, the Republic of South Africa, where the government was a minority government in control of a vast majority of people and oppressing them. Okay. And just kind of keep going from there. We happen to have one of the more benign governments, meaning it doesn't hurt that bad. We're coming up on the painful part of being here, coming up on tax day. But yeah, so having said that, if we wind up with doing what the European Union has done, where people who in the 1940s were killing each other by the tens of thousands around ideology. And now they've just formed one government and they can do all the stuff that they do, and they can disagree with each other without uh, bombing and strafing each other. Um, and I was just looking at something in history that was asking the question if Germany was 6 to 8 months further down the road in terms of refining uranium, and would they have built an atomic bomb and would they have used the atomic bomb? The answer is you betcha. Okay. So, this notion of being told that I am separate from you and I have not only a right, not only a duty, but a responsibility to kill you is something that I would like to see erased from human thought. Um, just like with very limited exceptions, we don't eat other people anymore. Like I said, there are some exceptions. um, we should not think about um, killing people around ideology. So I'm now done. But I saw that you put something in chat, and um, so you said, oh, I don't know when that picture was taken. I think it was 1927, but I can double check. Um, self-righteousness is the problem. I agree with you. I guess I would say self-supremacy, or the supremacy of one group over another. Uh, Government is just a way to organize the ways we live. I'm going to say government should be just a way to organize the ways we live. You talk to the people in Myanmar who are paying their taxes for their government to kill them. There has to be an answer to that. There has to be a response to that. Right now, the world doesn't know how to respond to that, and which is why Myanmar continues to exist. The war's been going on for over 10 years now. That's why Haiti continues to be what it is. Okay.
I'm just saying that all those, I mean, it's just like managing a house. You have details that improve the quality of life or maintain the quality of life. And, on a bigger scale, you have people that, I mean, people need to get together and decide how they want to manage their water, how they want to manage their road structure, how to maintain their roads, how to um, just, maintenance stuff, the details that keep the system going. And the fact that there's Myanmar with a government that's killing people, the people ought to organize themselves, stop paying their taxes, and get rid of those people who are not doing their job very well. Obviously, if they're killing their people, they're not doing their job very well.
Um,
So governments are made of people, and people have to take possession of their governments.
uh,
That's
uh,
that's that's just it. Just
I
like we do. We need to we need to organize and make sure that our government is representing we the people instead of a clump of rich guys on the top.
I fully agree with the principle. I have a picture of myself. I can't find it right now. I'll find it at some point in time. Let me stick it into the video. That picture was taken at the railhead in the Auschwitz concentration camp, where millions of human beings were stuffed into the ovens, were gassed, were burned, and used as fertilizer in the farms in Germany in that area. And um, um, I I I think that that's a lot different from what we've got in terms of our example of bad government right now that we are dealing with right now. I think that when we see the possibilities of um, of what government can do. Um, I saw a woman, I was very young. I was like maybe 6 or 7 years old. And my mom had taken us to a bank for some reason, and I'm busy just kind of walking around, being nosy with everyone. And I saw this small woman up at uh, the counter. Um, and I looked at her hands, and on her wrist, she had a number that was tattooed onto her wrist. She had been an inmate in one of the Nazi concentration camps, and that's how they kept track of her. Um, and the notion of tattooing a human being so that you can oppress them and then kill them, I think I mean, I couldn't figure it out. It's like, why does she have that number there? And she saw me looking and she gave me a look that I don't ever want to get from another human being. And we we carry this pain around and we compound the pain inadvertently. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, but I know that I made her very conscious of her status in the world. Okay. Um, she was angry, she was humiliated, and she was things I don't even have words for. I can't even feel what she would have felt in that situation. Okay. Um, and I said, this is something that um, uh, I get these messages from everywhere. And some years ago, I was just walking down the street and here in Portland, and somebody had put a message on a telephone on one of the telephone poles, and you see that all the time, except this message was cross-stitched. This as a piece of cloth, and someone had had put the letters on this piece of cloth in cross stitching, which takes time, takes a, I mean, and I looked at it and it said, and this was like maybe 20 to 30 years ago. And I looked at the message and it said, is homelessness a failure of the system? Or is it the system in operation? With a question mark. And um, if I can characterize how you are seeing things, you would see homelessness as a failure of the system. The system has failed the people who are out there, and the system needs to stop failing them, and therefore they won't be homeless anymore. If there's another way of seeing that, and the other way of seeing it is for you to be in that experience um, of looking and seeing that it's going on all over, it's going on all the time, it's being managed, etc. There is a book whose title I cannot remember, and if anybody can remember it, either um, right now today or looking at the video of this, please let me know. But this was a really painful um, writing. What if the Civil War was not conclusive? What if um, slavery continued to exist and it got managed? Okay, meaning um, there were rules in place that said you had to treat your slaves a certain way. You had to give them a certain level of food. You had to give them a certain um, they had to get so many square feet of living space, etc. If slavery had gotten managed instead of abolished, would we, you know, basically treat it like, oh yeah, well, you have to have slavery, so let's do it this way, as opposed to saying, no, you don't have to have slavery, and that this is something that we're not going to manage, we're going to eliminate. And I think that only the people who are in that system can make the judgments about that system. This is what happens with the people who have this notion about what women can and cannot do with their bodies, and they're not women. Okay, so it's like I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm going to put my rules on you. Okay, and I think that I would like to see a system where that kind of thing doesn't happen. I got one more thing to say about this, and then I'll have two or three. No, no, seriously, I have one more thing to say about this. You don't hear about them, but there are alternatives to what we call government. And those alternatives exist in the world. They're live, they're thriving. And I paid a lot of attention to them when I was in part of the world where people would do the banjar, they would do the panchayat. Um, Banjars and panchayats are pretty darn cool. This is um, governing at the lowest common denominator. Okay. Um, um, and Greg, I see your hand just went up. um, uh, where you basically flip government on its head. So most of the power is down here at the level of um, regular people. And the Banjar I participated in Indonesia was basically a village that came together, and the decisions they had to make was who gets water and how much water and when. Now, this is about as basic as you can get. This is like saying to, you and your neighbors get together and you get to divide up the electricity that comes into your village. Who gets how much? When do you get it? How do you get it, etc. And they've been doing this for 1,000 years. And so it turns into a party. Um, they had the gamelan got together and they're playing music, and the kids are all in the corner. They're watching shadow puppets, and there's food everywhere. And in all of this, they're making fundamental decisions about their lives. Um, um, in India, that system called the panchayat is formalized in the government. Like the at the lowest level, you have these things that look like community groups. But this is like think about it as community groups with teeth, okay? That they actually have power to make decisions about their lives. One of the problems that they have is when the groups don't see eye to eye. And this is a problem that I was facing looking at things in Sri Lanka, where you've got some basic divisions of people. Like, yeah, you have a language division between people so that uh, they don't, they're not even able to communicate eye to eye. In Singapore, they solved that problem. The and This was the work of Lee Mung Yu, who created modern Singapore. And he basically said, we're all going to speak English. All of us were forced to learn English because of the colonial masters, but let's use that to form a common bond with each other. You can use your own language at home, but in government and in how we deal with each other um, is a is a different story. And I'm going to get to Greg, but the problem is, Esther, you keep I keep reading the stuff that you're sending out. The uh, Australia has a really interesting way, the almost opposite way of the United States in terms of dealing with community apathy. You've got to vote. Yeah, if you don't vote, you pay $100 tax, and you pay that at every election, and that'll incentivize you to actually come out. It doesn't matter who you vote for, but you've got to show up to the voting booth and you got to check that I came here. And if you don't want to vote for anybody, fine. But we want you to participate in the process. I got more to say about that, but I'm going to get to Greg now.
I think the moment I raised my hand was um, when you think about, like your example, what if slavery had only been managed?
Mhm.
Um, the systemic oppression of African Americans since the end of the Civil War, I would say, is metaphorically the same as managing slaves. Sharecropping, policing, mass incarceration, redlining, right? All the things that have been done to African Americans since 1865 is pretty much managing slavery. Perhaps there's a difference in degree, but I don't think there's a difference in kind.
You won't get much argument out of me. Um, one of the I think the interesting aspects of what happened from 1865 through um,
How about 1965? Just make it a century.
because so much was going on between 65 and 80. Okay, I mean, all the redlining, for example, the all the hiring stuff, all the voting stuff. There's still 16 counties in North Carolina that still cannot have free and fair elections. The federal government has to run their elections because they can't do it. Um, Now, and this is we're talking about a generation of people. And the only reason that Trump hasn't taken the feds out of those 16 counties is that he hasn't gotten around to it yet. Um, and so, so I agree with that is definitely something. I wouldn't call, yeah, all right. And it's difficult to call it anything because we didn't have a name for it. We called it Jim Crow, but that's not a name. That's a euphemism. You know, uh, I call it American apartheid. It's an apartheid system, and um, the ones who are the um, uh, oppressed of that system have had no real abilities to change the system. Um, which is again one of my points where I say I think that government is something we need to evolve ourselves beyond. Um, um, and I, I'm watching the smoke curling out of Esther's ears. um, the
I
Uh,
need to go with my dog.
yeah,
okay,
I would like to say basically that the Arancha book changed my idea because basically the God's kingdom has government at every level, right? We're part of a local system, which is part of a local universe, which is part of a minor sector, which is part of a major sector, which is part of a super universe,
Mhm.
and each level of government has its own responsibilities and consultations. So that's our my revelation is I agreed that we need to evolve past government, but then when I see that God's kingdom is turtles all the way up, turtles all the way down, it
um,
changed my idea.
okay, so this is something we may have to talk about later. I'll tell you what I won't do is debate the Urantia book or anybody else's book with you because I think that that's out of my realm here. Um, but I am uh, I have been. Oops, there and he goes too.
No, I'm not leaving. I'm
Oh, okay.
just going to get in the car so the images will be too chaotic and distracting.
Thank you much. So I am uh I've been in enough countries, enough places, and enough people to see that human beings don't need what we call government in order to govern, in order to um, uh, create systems that work for the whole and work for the whole in very, very effective ways. Now, if you call them government, then okay, that's government. But what we call government in the West, I think it's government in the West, and I don't think that that is I would not put that in any way, shape, or form in any level of divinity. When Max Planck said that the world is is operating with divine intelligence. I don't think that he was talking about um uh I think he was talking about um I just came across this number the other day that there are more beings that live in your mouth than there are beings, human beings living on this planet. Okay. So there are about eight right now, if you're healthy and you haven't used any Listerine today, there are about 8 billion beings living in your mouth and they get along with each other. And then when they don't get along with each other, you know it. You get knocked on your butt, and then you knock them on their butt, and then they get their act together. Okay. And so I so I'm gonna review all this because I think that this is very important to how we do what we're doing. Um, when I talk about creating a world that works for all, I'm not talking about one world government. Um, having seen the union, I worked with the United Nations, having seen the United Nations in action, I think it's a really bad idea. Um, a bureaucracy that hemorrhages money all around the world, um, that does amazingly stupid things and then covers it up with money and paperwork. My contract, I had a contract to do a training in Uganda for 1 week. My contract was 500 pages long, and I had to sign just about every page. That my signing of the contract was took about 3 hours. Somebody was saying, okay, this section of fine print covers um, whether or not you're allowed to use taxis. This section is about your uh, per diem if it's raining. Okay, and and it just goes on and on and on. I just don't think that's a good idea. It didn't hurt anybody. Well, I got writer's cramp from I had to go through a couple of pens on this, but that's just kind of the way it goes. Um, okay, Angie.
Well, I just want to comment that the Urantia book comes from a very broad perspective and often addresses things in the future, as they're going to be, not necessarily as how they are now, or in some instances, most often not how things were when the book was being transmitted either. So it's kind of in its, I always kind of allow for a certain level of time lapse when I'm looking at what it says, because there's whatever the daily reality of whatever the circumstances on the planet are, it often addresses what's way above that, and and in a lot of ways Mahikari is the same. It talks about how how to deal with things now, and then there's how that things will manifest in the future. So I think it's good to not get too tied up in the details with that, because things are going to play out how they're going to play out on this level on this planet, day to day. But when you're looking at it from a much broader perspective, then it's sort of like they're trying to give everybody a broader view, and it doesn't always immediately translate up and down vertically for how things are and how things are being portrayed in the broader view. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it
So
does,
okay.
and it makes sense in the context of what I brought up,
Mhm.
meaning um, there are governing systems that I've seen that don't make any sense outside of their cultural uh, background. And Then when you take more than one culture and you try to smush them together, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. It doesn't uh, um, it's difficult to do. Lee Man Yu, who I spoke of earlier in terms of being literally the father of Singapore, um, he did it. He took 5 groups who are literally at war with each other and literally made one nation out of them. Um, and did that because he did not put his group on the top. If he had done that, all that would have done is just create a never-ending cultural and class warfare. Instead, he brought them all together, and they all prospered to the point that Singapore is still the Asian miracle. And the lesson for all of us that with the right attitude, um, you can do e pluribus unum. Out of many people come one. Um, it's we put it on the money, but we don't believe in it. I shouldn't say that. Many, probably most of us believe that, but it's an awful lot that don't. Um, and that they have power to influence others in some interestingly negative ways. And we are going to stop doing that. Now, what I have to do is sort through, and I'll be doing that the rest of the day, how much of what we just said is my own personal opinion and how much of this is how I see Commonway creating this world that works for all. I'm gonna work on it. And if it, I don't have to, until we get into vision, which is going to be in another week or two. We're not gonna, I got a week or two to think about this. So I'll let you know what I come up with. Um, anything else today?
Yes,
Okay.
I just want to say in conclusion um, that remember I always say that each one of us has a personal set of beliefs, unlike anybody else, right? And so the fact that you and I may have fundamental disagreements about what the future is going to look like, we can agree on the whole idea of taking steps to ensure that people see their oneness and to grow the concept of oneness globally, right? Um, it, so that's basically, the reason that I have some very different views about what the future is going to look like than you do. But I can wholeheartedly cooperate in bringing to pass or to fruition some future that's unlike what either you or I imagined, because
Um,
that's the way life works. I'm wholeheartedly on board.
yes, with um, an exception. You you and I start from a premise that the world can work for all beings. Now,
Yes.
now, because of that, we can continue to have conversations that can look fundamentally at odds, okay? But because we have the basic, yeah, the world can work for all living beings. Um, um, if you don't have that, um, um, if I'm thinking of a number of people. Okay, so first of all, there's a guy I know who believes, I mean, very strongly. I mean, it's just like it's uh, that that people who are blonde, like their hair is blonde, um, shouldn't exist. That you should kill them. Okay, I said, well, what if your wife just dyed her hair? He said, I divorce her immediately. And I'm like, I was laughing at him. He was not laughing. And and people have had that kind of belief. They do it around skin color, they do it around their how tall they are, or how rich they are, or how different they are in some way. Um, so when you get to the point of saying those people don't have a right to exist, those people don't have a right to anything other than what I tell them they have a right to. Then we walk into a situation where, so like if, for example, if you said fundamentally people from California are so different they should not be part of society, then we would have to I would have to disagree with you that we have the same outlook. There are people, believe it or not, I know this is shocking, but there are people I don't like. Okay. I don't like for a reason. And then there's some people I don't like you and I don't even need a reason. I just don't like you. But I have to recognize that that person that I say I don't like is my brother or my sister, and I have to treat them as such. So I treat people well, but not because I like it, whether I like them or not, but whether or not this being is a living being on our living planet. And if they are, then I got to work on it. That at that point, it's my work. I got to do the work, as opposed to I'm just gonna separate from them, kill them, segregate them, put them in prison, or whatever I want to do to keep them away from me. Um, and my last point, um, a lot of the examples of what we use in terms of democracy are monocultural. We talk about, for example, in this country, the New England town meeting. Town meetings were, the whole town would come together and would talk out their issues and would vote on them, hands up, hands down. And that works when everybody is of the same culture. When a significant number of people are not of the same culture, you got to have some other mechanisms in there in order to make it work. And people do that, but you gotta actually do that. And that's what I was facing as I was advising Sarvodia on how to do a political system where the people in that system don't speak the same language and have had a different history with each other. And that history involves um, killing each other, burning down each other's houses. Um, okay, on those cheerful notes, let me go and we will talk more about this at another point in time. I'm going to see if anybody actually watches this video and how inflamed they get. I'm the one that kind of gets the flames. But see how inflamed they get when they are when we're talking about stuff like this. Look forward to our next weekly. I'm gonna stop waving because Angie wants to say something.
I just want to say that the spiritual supersedes the physical realm, if not exactly in the moment, in the broader picture, in the greater timeline, and that's, I think, very important to remember. that the spiritual principles always supersede the physical in time.
Yeah, number one, yes. Number two, that's exactly what Max Planck was saying.
Hmm.
Number three, that's exactly what Martin Luther King was saying, and this starts to also dovetail with what Greg was just saying, of the universe bends toward justice, and it may not show up when you want it to. It may not show up when you need it to, but you need to maybe this is an article of faith, but to have faith that we will eventually get there.
Yes. And that's really what the Urantia book is saying, is that we're all going to get there. And you guys aren't doing so well right now, but you're all going to get there, you know. So,
um,
and I think those things are really important to keep on the radar, you know.
and because I've been working on this for so long, and because I've been working on it over so many different um, cultures. Um, I'm seeing this larger thing that that I think that we can address, and I will be encouraging us over time to take that larger point of view. Um, I think that there are things that go above. I think there's a lot of things that go above government. Um, Spirit goes above government. I think psychology does. I think that that psychology that government should be a reflection of our psychology, not leading it.